Hey, good morning. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about sibling rivalry and what you can do about it. We are Bonnie and
Thomas Leota.
Yes. And, we've got a combined experience of almost 50 years in personal development. I've worked with thousands, tens of thousands of adults in leadership, and Thomas has worked with thousands of children in a very proactive way versus reactive way. And I just got to say, when we ask the question, kids are fighting, what do we do now? Well, you can answer in the comments below. Do you think that is proactive or reactive? And so this is the change from positive parenting, which is not so positive at all, because the kid does something we don't like. We come in and we take things away. I'm sure there's been experiences where you've been angry at your children for fighting and have gone in like angrily and punished the one who's hitting. So I want to share, when I first met Tom, my kids fought all the time. They literally took over my house, my office, my bedroom. It was constantly, chaotic. My youngest one would be running up the stairs all the time going, Jacob hit me. And then I would get mad and I would go yell at Jacob. And then in the background, Zachary's kind of like laughing because he just got his big brother in trouble. So just kind of bear with us if you're just new to creating champions for life and you're just learning that there is a way that we can proactively create a right environment where the kids would choose to get along, right? Where the kids would choose to work as a team. And so we've been talking about the principles of creating champions for life for the last couple of weeks, knowing your role as a parent, understanding that our children see the world completely differently than we do. They don't see their fighting as annoying and worrisome like we do as parents. They see the world from a child perspective. We talked about creating the right environment, which will encourage your children to behave in the way that you want them to, right? We'll encourage your children to choose the right behavior. That's number 3, creating the right environment. We talked about going through the transition of being, doing, and having everything for your children, and then coming in as the parent and taking things away when they do something you don't like. We talked about that. We talked about guiding behavior based on your child's goals versus
what you don't like,
controlling and always focusing on what you don't like. And I remember Tom going, well, find something that, find a success story. And so I would look for all these ways to find a success story. And I would I would try to praise them, but then they would be like, I don't even deserve praise. Like, it was really weird. And I'm like, 3 days later, I can't find something positive. I don't have a success story to share. And oh gosh. So I can see how we can get on this hamster wheel of chaotic environment, and how do we kind of pull it back. So the transition is where we find parents need the most help, is when they begin to guide the behavior versus punish them. And the kids are like, what's going on, right? The habits that they have, the habits that you have, begin to transform. And it's like renovating a kitchen, right? Have you ever renovated a room? And it gets messier before it gets better. So there's going to be some of that. And if you are experiencing that, send us an email. I'm Bonnie at creatingchampionsforlife.com. All right. So I remember when Zachary would come running to the office when Tom was in my life and we had began this process. Come running to the office to tell on his brother for hitting him. Jacob was 12. Zachary was 6. So I was always concerned about Zachary's safety because he was the smallest one and Jacob was pretty strong. And Tom did something completely counterintuitive, like completely off my radar, when Zachary came and complained about Jacob. Do you remember that?
Well, you fill in the details.
Yeah, we didn't rehearse this, so he's probably like, what are you talking about? Okay, so Zach came to the office to complain about Jacob, and you said, what happened before Jacob hit you, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
So what was happening is, we think our role as parents is to come in and control the situation, punish the bad one, coddle the little one. But what I see and what I saw in my own kids, and we see in a lot of our families, is that encourages the bullying behavior, because we come in, we punish, we're angry, we punish the older one, which is going to cause him to be angrier or happier. you know? And so the older one's like, well, the little one's been poking me for a half an hour, you know, or something like bees don't sting people.
That's right. Bees don't sting people.
So number one, we believe it's our responsibility to go in and break up the argument. So we take control of the situation, which is going to, fuse it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to add gas or fuel to the fire, so to speak. So Tom, what can parents do to begin to create an environment where the kids can do what they need to do and the parents can be happy? And
well, first and foremost, if you got two kids fighting, they're both little geniuses. There's nothing wrong with them. They're smart. They're thinking. They're beginning to plan. They're looking at what is working for only what they know right then. Right? You got two kids, one drinking fountain. They both have a goal to drink, but they're just missing a life skill called taking
turns.
That's right. And so if they were to go one versus the other, you see, you've got two kids and they're usually going over somebody needs to go first, or they see that there's a scarcity happening. There's only one item, one cookie,
one mom,
right? And who was older, you know, however you want to look at it. And so when you start to see that, you're like, well, of course, there's always going to be something you don't like. Maybe that's what got your attention. But if you look at what they're doing, you're thinking, well, what is their goal? Remember we talked about this just the other day, knowing their reward. What is it driving them? If they knew another way to do it, they would. But maybe they're only knowing one way, right? So when we're all little babies, right, little baby kids, all we know to do to make something show up is what? Cry. Wah! Mom comes running. Then they get a little creative. If I can somehow say he did something wrong, I'll get what I want. And this is what Zach was doing. He was actually learning that he could go play with the tiger's tail. Poke, 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 poke. Hey, Zach, leave me alone. Poke, 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 right? Zach, stop it. Please leave my room. Zach, I didn't ask you to come in my room. Zach, you know, I mean, like, so fast forward 20 minutes. So when the escalation came in, Jacob hit me. Well, the first question that comes into your mind should be, congratulations. Whoa, no, wait a minute. This might be a big pill to swallow. You want me to congratulate that my youngest kid got hit by the oldest one? If you can pause and helicopter up to see the bigger picture, don't just hug the tree.
Yeah.
Because that right there, of course, that's wrong. Let's acknowledge that. But if you move back, Bonnie alluded to it earlier. Bees don't sting people. There's no evil queen bee that wakes up their bees and says, go out there and go get those two-leggers. Go, go, go. Sting, sting, sting. But if you were to actually sit on a bee or put your hand on the bee or they were threatened, they would sting as a way to protect themselves. So with that being said, Jacob just was protecting himself after a while. Then Zach would run up and he knew, Mom, he hit me. And then what did Mom do? Mom went to go punish him and then coddle little Zach. So what was Zach's goal? Zach's goal was to win Mom. And do you see how genius they were? Now, as weird as this sounds at first, look how creative, look how successful, look how genius-like the little Zach was. Now, he could learn that. Now, let's just say that would be the positive or negative. Proactive or reactive. Let's go with negative and reactive mode. If he can learn that, I love kids like this because it's like a pendulum. As soon as it swings over to the other side, they can learn how to actually cooperate. Operating, meaning with others. Two kids, one drinking fountain versus, Mom, he cut in line with me, where they could learn a new missing life skill. And that really is a missing piece to your parenting puzzle.
Absolutely. Like once you have an environment where the kids know exactly what to do to get what is important to them,
they'll do it.
They'll do it. So then we put it in an environment where they could earn bare minimum, average, or outstanding time on the video game. So for Jacob, for instance, when he was able to begin to communicate with Zach, or, we put a plan in place. When Zach's bugging you, you do this, you still get outstanding on your video game. If you choose to lash out, hit, take matters into your own hands, well, you can still play your video game. You just get 15 minutes versus an hour. Let's just say, I'm just giving you an example because I know that video games was really important to my oldest. And so it became a privilege to play video games versus a right. The other thing that Tom taught us to do was to not get involved in the sibling rivalry. Now, I'm not saying let your older one kick the crap out of your younger one during the transition. This is going to be awareness as you're learning new skills and moving into a proactive environment versus a very reactive one. But it didn't take very much time. Once I got this, I was like, okay, Jenny and Zach are fighting. So where would be the best place to fight if you still wanted to earn outstanding screen time today? And we taught them that they could go onto the front step and they could talk back and forth and figure it out and learn how to negotiate what was important to them. And if they could figure it out on their own, then they still earned outstanding. Even they could sit out there and they could yell and scream at each other. But guess what? The minute I stopped getting involved, the minute that I stopped punishing the older one and catering to the little one, like it was a very stressful time. The moment that I was just like, hey, my role is to teach you life skills. My role is not to control what you guys are doing and to punish and whatever. My job is to teach you the life skills to get what's important to you. So what is it that is your goal, Jacob? What is it that is your goal, Zach? Here is how to make it happen next time. And then that's where we'd ask questions, who would want to go first? And so it's all about stepping back almost. And that's where I say this is a little bit counterintuitive because we have been taught for the last 3 generations now to cater to our child's every whim, lavish them with attention, love them, make sure how much they know they're loved. And then when they do something you don't like, we punish them.
Right.
It's not very positive at all. You've got the child wanting something. You come in as the parent. You've got a negative experience going on, which means they're doing something you don't like. You come in angry, which is also another negative experience. And you're guaranteed chaos, frustration, arguing, and this.
Yes.
But when you actually learn creating champions for life and you learn to create an environment that allows them to argue, they know where to go to negotiate. All the fighting in my house literally stopped. They'd go out on the step, they'd be back in 10 seconds and they'd be getting along because they weren't going to win my negative affection through sibling rivalry, which was life-changing.
Absolutely. So what's happening here is we're creating an environment that allows them to actually figure it out on their own. This is powerful.
Yes.
I mean, the mom makes sense now as you're starting to do everything for them. But at the end of the day, are you going to be their mom for the rest of their life? Now, see, this will actually violate all of Mother Nature's law. You see, there's 3 umbilical cords, and we'll talk about this real brief. But what we have found again and again and again with 99.9999989% absolute certainty that when the baby is actually born, what's the very first umbilical cord that's cut at birth, Bonnie? It's the physical one.
Yeah, okay.
You can physically see it.
Like the umbilical cord.
Right, there's no trick here, but we've got to make a point to see, yeah, I remember that. They cut it, tie it, and it's done. So there's a physical connection between mother and offspring. That's number 1. 2, by the time that the child is born, what can they really do on their own? And it's like slim and none. They've got cry. Something's wrong. They cry. We come, right? And we played this game called Name That Cry. What does it mean? Does it the bottle, pick me up, change the diaper? You got really good at that game. And this is why without this emotional connection to the offspring, none of us would live. None of us would have survived, right? if a baby, I mean, these are all guaranteed statistics. A baby that's left alone with no attention for its first weeks when it's born will die. Every offspring, regardless. So what ends up happening is we are emotionally connected to their outcome, their results. This is for survival of the species. Now, how long should orange juice be in a refrigerator, Bonnie? A certain window of time, but not forever. Are you with me? If so, kind of give me a thumbs up, say yes, or you get a head nod. There's a certain window that emotional connection is there. And if it goes at 2 or later, it's completely expired, like orange juice has been in a refrigerator for a year. It's that window that we do everything for them from 2 and younger. That makes sense. But you got to be able to detach. So their next umbilical cord is the emotional one. You must sever that to be emotionally attached to their results. I want him to have the best. Well, honey, he's 20 now. He needs to start making his own, right? It is way expired. And then the third umbilical cord is when we prepare them and they successfully leave the what? Every animal leaves the nest. They're leaving the house. They're leaving your leadership so we can authentically duplicate. So that's the process. What we have found is that you may still be, chances are it's absolutely, you haven't learned yet how to detach that emotional umbilical cord. And that's one of the healing processes that Creating Champions for Life brings to the table. Because when that does happen, what was the significant shift for you when you found out about that emotional cord and you're able to detach it?
It was so freeing. It was just like, I'd love for you to have your goal. This is what mommy wants. So when you do it like this, you get your goal. And it was just like, I took what was important to my kids and what was important to me, and we put it together like a zipper. And within a really short period of time, like I said, they got along with each other, but not only that, they were making me breakfast in bed. They were cleaning up their rooms every day. My house was becoming more organized, more peaceful. I had kids that were having a new zest for life. They were happier. They were learning negotiation skills. See, we look at sibling rivalry as, oh my gosh, can't you guys just get along? Like, stop it. We look at it like that. But sibling rivalry is part of being a child, and it is what trains our children for the playground when they go off to school. And so often the one that's hitting becomes a bully because they're hitting because that's the only way that they know how to get what's important to them. So they need to be taught and guided with what's important to them so that they can consciously choose negotiation skills. They can consciously step into their self-confidence. Now, think about this. The one that's getting hit all the time, if you're coming in and going, oh my gosh, come here, are you okay? Then what we're doing is we're teaching the little one that they get a massive amount of attention when something bad happens to them. We're actually creating victims. So when they're victims in the home and they become victims on the playground. So the best thing that you can do for your little one that's getting hit or whatever is give them the life skills of, first of all, don't poke the dragon, like leave them alone unless you want to get hit. And then secondly, is teach them, the words to say, the stance to have, teach them to protect themselves, give them the skills to walk away. If that's what it is, if they notice that their sibling is getting a little bit agitated, give them the life skill, give them permission to walk away and go to their room.
Here's the most exciting thing. Think of it as simple as 2 options. You can earn what you are most importantly to you. What is it that you want to make happen there, little Timmy? What's your goal? Now, there's 2 ways to do it. You can go up and hit to get it, or you can go up and hug to get it. One is a smile, one is a frown. You see, being able to show them the game of opposites. The one we don't like, hit. The one we're like, oh my gosh, look at them hugging. They're getting along, right? You got to show them the two.
Yeah.
Because that's why they picked you, to show them how the world works.
That's parenting.
That's the parenting game. They're not like a spider and born how to do it automatically.
Yeah.
So when we begin to go very simplistic, you see something you don't like, you come in, you start talking don't, can't, and won't. Negative, like Bonnie talked about. It's guaranteed to create more chaos. But if you begin to see their goal and how can we do it? Where can it happen? Right? When, where, and why? Why, where, what? What can happen to make it work? Then we're in a positive mode. We're working both towards the solution. And that's the difference between creating champions for life and every other program that's out there.
Right. And we're just going to finish with this because, Sarah, you were asking about, I believe it was Sarah, it might have been John, John and Sarah. But you were asking about martial arts class. And so, Tom, like, I have my own opinion on, okay, he's being violent. He's a little bit aggressive. So should we send him to martial arts school, or is that going to make him more violent?
Well, one of the things that I love best about martial arts, and this is like when you come in, the interview way back when, it was the martial arts there was never kids in the class. Never. It was all an adult thing. And the very first interview, when you walked in, they would always ask, so when's the last time you've been in a fight? You see, people used to go to martial art classes in the Bay to be like, I'm going to get back even. How can I got to learn how to fight and hurt to defend myself, right? I got to fight fire with fire. But what you end up learning when you get into a true martial arts is they teach you the mindset of self-control.
Yes.
You see, I am in control of my body and my actions, not they are. You see, the kids are operating in a world where they are in control of me, and they're saying, I'd like to be in control of my body. Could you show me how I could do a hug versus the only thing I know how to do is hit? You see, when you give them that gift, now they can do right versus wrong. And see, our genius little spirit inside is always defaulted to the positive side of win. It's when we don't know that we don't know hug versus hit. And all we have is hit. It's do nothing or something. And that, it would be a scary place to be. And it'll make sense like this, and we'll wrap it up. If we jumped out of a perfectly good plane for parachuting, and I asked, excuse me, sir, I forgot my parachute as we already left the plane, that might be where we are in our parenting today. Wouldn't there be some steps prior to jumping out that we could have been training on, that we could have brought awareness before this situation showed up? So if that's you, know that there is a 12-step program before you jump out of the plane and find out yourself, I got no parachute. What do you do now? They're fighting. They're at each other's wits' ends. There's a lot of things prior that we didn't know. And if you did, you'll never find yourself in that position ever again.
Awesome. Well, I hope that helps. I know it's just a little piece. It's just like looking at an elephant through a straw. Really, I mean, we do the best that we can with these lives, but really there's a whole brand new proactive philosophy that is helping our children get out of their box, helping our parents kind of step back and, like Tom said, detach emotionally from the results and just step into our role and lay out the environment. And when you do this, this is what you choose for yourself. And when you do this, this is what you choose for yourself. And we just maintain, once we get the plan in place, we maintain the integrity of that plan. And we focus on how can I help my child learn blank life skills so that when they go to school, they're not a victim or a bully. They go to school, they're confident. So when they enter life, they know how to negotiate. They know how to take turns. They know how to be polite. They don't know all this stuff already. And so we've got to teach them every single little thing about how the world works, including the getting along with your siblings. So,
until we meet again.
Here's to your parenting success.
Cheers.